Hey, what's going on, guys? So the Darwin Nunez transfer links have picked up a lot of pace in the last 48 hours, with reliable sources such as James Pearce of The Athletic and Paul Joyce of The Times suggesting that the Uruguayan centre-forward is expected to be brought in for a fee of £85 million. He's represented by the same agency as Liverpool duo Fabinho and Diego Jota in Gestifoot, and also favors a move to Anfield over the likes of Atletico Madrid and Manchester United, so sorting out personal terms won't be an issue whatsoever. Before moving on to the player, I'd like to address the disgruntlement regarding his price. If you look at the current market for strikers, there's a real dearth of top quality options available. They're either past their prime and looking for the final mega contract of their careers, or lacking the fundamentals in their game to be successful at a club of Liverpool's stature. This, coupled with the fact that the going rate for even average players exceeds the 40 million quid mark, you can see both why Benfica are demanding a king's ransom and the reasons behind Liverpool's willingness to pay the fee. If, as a 22-year-old, he continues to progress as expected, the £85 million figure will look like a drop in the ocean in a decade's time. It's obviously far from a bargain as things stand, but it was only last summer that Chelsea paid £97.5 million for Lukaku and Manchester City £100 million for Grealish, neither of which has really set the world alight. In addition, plenty of eyebrows were raised when Liverpool dished out £75 million for Virgil van Dijk or £56 million for Alisson, yet the pair of them have been vital clogs in transforming a mid-table side into one that routinely crosses the 90-point barrier domestically and has made a habit of getting to Champions League finals. Everyone's capable of errors in judgment in the market, whether you're Pep Guardiola or Sir Alex Ferguson. However, based on the current Liverpool Transfer Committee's recent history, they really do their homework on targets and hence should be trusted, given not a single big money signing has flopped as of yet. Not to mention that, like Luis Diaz, Klopp and his players have seen firsthand what Darwin Nunez is capable of in the Champions League. It's no coincidence that Jurgen Klopp waxed lyrical about him in a press conference, or Van Dijk listed him amongst the 5 toughest opponents he's ever faced. The guy is very much the real deal. Now, supporters of Premier League clubs have a really bad habit of shitting on other leagues around Europe, but they mustn't forget that Benfica is the same club that has produced players like Ederson, Jan Oblak, Angel Di Maria, Bernardo Silva, Joao Felix, Nemanja Matic, Ramirez, Ezequiel Garay, Ruben Diaz, Raul Jimenez, and Joao Cancelo over the last decade, just to name a few. It's a real conveyor belt of talent, and this fella's the crown jewel from the current batch in the production line. He scored 34 goals and assisted 4 across 41 games in all competitions for a subpar Benfica side. They finished 17 points behind league winners Porto and 11 points adrift of city rival Sporting, which in Portugal is essentially unheard of. Despite this handicap, he's bagged goals in big games versus Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Ajax, and Liverpool. While that statistic has been doing the rounds on social media, he's also netted domestically versus Sporting and Braga. He had a goal controversially ruled out for offside versus Porto too, which just goes to show you how he's clearly been the man for the big occasions this season. Given his frame, long hair, and nationality, comparisons have instantly been drawn to Edinson Cavani, when in truth he prefers to drift in and out of spaces between where a traditional winger and centre forward would play, unlike his compatriot who performs best when in the middle. It's equally exciting for Uruguay's national team to have another talismanic figure coming through after Forlan Suarez and Cavani himself. Unlike that trio who had each other for support, this man is likely going to have to carry the weight of expectations on his shoulders over the next decade or so. No shortage of pressure then, that's for sure. Off the pitch, he's been labelled by those close to him as a quiet but friendly character who's resilient in the toughest of circumstances. This might stem from the fact that he comes from very humble beginnings, with his father working in construction and mother unemployed. When you see him on the pitch, he's got a tireless work ethic, which is typical of South American players. It's why so many of them become fan favourites when they end up in England. Supporters will accept poor performances from time to time in terms of output, but never a lack of fight and desire, which Nunez has in abundance. A former teammate of his at Almeria went shopping with him for a phone and was surprised to see Nunez pick out an older model instead of the most expensive one he could find. Nunez's response was, "This is enough. I just need to call people and this does the job." That might not seem like a big deal, but the modern day footballer is completely detached from reality and has their head very much in the clouds. This is precisely why background checks are pivotal for clubs to find out what type of individual they're considering bringing in. By all accounts, it's something Liverpool have placed a huge emphasis on and has clearly paid dividends. It's perhaps why Klopp's sides always look greater than the sum of their parts, while the likes of PSG flatter to deceive and repeatedly fall apart mentally during crunch situations. As with any signing, there are certain concerns that must be raised. First and foremost, there's reason to believe he does his best work in a counter-attacking system where his side sits back and soaks up pressure before releasing Nunez, who uses his pace and strength on the break to run through on goal. This explains his wonderful record in European games under the floodlights. The majority of opposition that Liverpool face will set up in a way to frustrate them by parking the bus and ask Klopp's side to break them down. With Benfica, he scored goals against weaker opposition too, but the difference in quality between the sides was considerable. In the Premier League, that won't be the case, so it'll be interesting to see how he adapts his game to deal with what will inevitably be thrown at him. Furthermore, he's only had one truly great season at the very highest level. As showcased by the graphic on screen, he ended the 2020-21 season with only 14 goals in 44 games. This could just be a case of a young player settling into a new league, country, and culture before coming to life, but does raise alarm bells nonetheless given the plethora of one-season wonders that have existed throughout footballing history. He was heavily criticized for his output and responded by blocking anyone who had a pop at him on social media. There's nothing wrong with doing so, but given the vultures that are the English press, he should be prepared for scrutiny from day one and learn to ignore it while moving forward. A counter-argument to this point is someone like a Vinicius Jr., who Real Madrid paid 40 million quid for when he hadn't even played a minute of first-team football for Flamengo. Started off very slowly after signing and has now been instrumental in a league and Champions League double. It's a roll of the dice, but a gamble well worth taking, given the list of clubs which will be in for his signature should he repeat the heroics of last season. On a side note, people moaning about his first touch, passing, and link-up play clearly haven't watched any Benfica games and are jumping to conclusions on the basis of 10-second clips they come across on Twitter. As I've mentioned, there are certainly weaknesses within his game, but not the ones that people are making them out to be. His aerial ability is great. Passing is very good, even though the decision-making needs some work, which will iron itself out over time. His link-up as well as hold-up play have already come on leaps and bounds over the past 12 months. And yes, there's certainly room for improvement when it comes to his first touch, but he's hardly like Romelu Lukaku. That is a complete and utter myth. Overall, losing a legend in the form of Sadio Mane will always be a painful blow regardless of the replacement. But this man's pace, power, and dynamism, along with his capability to play both through the middle as well as wide on the left, makes him a worthy successor on paper. He's got big shoes to fill and will back himself to do so under arguably the best manager in world football. The eyes of the footballing world will be on this transfer, and how he performs next season could prove to be the difference between winning or losing out on one of the big two pots. If he does start slowly, I implore Liverpool supporters to have some patience. For reference sake, he's only 7 months older than Curtis Jones and 2 years younger than Kelleher, so needs time to develop and take his game to an even higher level. That's something we tend to forget when there's a big money transfer involved. This is Klopp's first real rebuild at Liverpool, and it will be intriguing to see how things unfold. Jota and Luis Diaz look the biscuit, and with Mo Salah seemingly running his contract down to leave as a free agent, we could see a completely new front three for the 2022-23 season to the one we've become accustomed to over the years at Anfield. It's a thankless task to have to do this while competing with the riches of PSG and Manchester City, as well as the excellence of Real Madrid, but if anyone can work miracles, it's this man. Now, this isn't the first time I'm seeing Liverpool go apeshit in the transfer market following a Champions League final defeat to Real Madrid, and as a United supporter, I can only hope the results aren't the same as last time. I mean, fuck me, I can take us being shit, but if Liverpool are winning trophies while that's happening, it's too much to bear. Anyways, I digress. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments below. It's rather bizarre, but I pretty much know Benfica inside out. I've watched at least 20 of their games last season, which is probably 20 too many, but it comes in handy for times like this. Cheers for tuning in, guys. I appreciate every single one of you. And thanks a lot for the kind messages that I've been receiving over the last few weeks. It truly, truly means a lot. Have a great day.